Hi guys, and welcome back to another Let's Build episode. So last time we were building up a nice courtyard area with a cartwright in it that backs onto the Merchants Guild warehouse. And in this episode, we're actually going to be focusing on one of the last areas of Eastpoint. And now this is the most northernmost side of Eastpoint, which will then go into the rest of the city. But it's going to be really cool when we tick that box off of completing this area. Now, if you're new to the channel at all, we do a lot of tutorials and time lapses just like this one, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also guys, if you're new to this series at all, I'll leave a link in the card above as well as in the description to not only the full Let's Build Lordsport series, but also the full Let's Build Bataria series. Anyway guys, let's get into some building. So the first thing we needed to do was extend the wall. Now we did the wall many episodes now, but what I've kind of got this good idea actually for this area. When we get into the next district, and I haven't even named that district yet, when we get into it, I'm actually thinking that the area where these towers are onto is going to be a fishing port. So we're actually going to put in a full harbour wall and actually have a fishing kind of like port on that side. So that's where they'll go from there. Whereas the bay, because it's protected, you know, with lots of the bigger ships, that's where the bigger trade ships are going to come in. But, you know, in terms of our fishing kind of industry, that's where we're going to have that. Now that means that building the wall, we're going to have to do it in a little bit of a specific way. So what I'm actually thinking of doing, and I decided to start with this, was to actually have the tower pushed back. So we're actually going to have the whole kind of this little fishing community on the side here. It's actually going to be technically outside of the actual walls. So you could technically, you know, grab your ships in here, land your men in here, but you've then got to fight your way through some pretty big walls and a large gatehouse. And I decided to do it that way because building it up all to the sides, it just ends up blocking out loads of the light, and I just think actually let's try and make some kind of interesting areas. We also haven't done a gate kind of design yet, gatehouse design, so that's going to be really cool when we get onto that. But that then frames the rest of the space, and I need to get that done, even though it goes into the next little district. It just needed to be done so that we can see how much space we've got, what the space kind of looks like, and then we can figure out what we want to do with it. So building up another house on the main street. Because of the main street, especially with it being flat, what I've decided to do is build big. So we're going with quite a few big houses on this kind of side, and then what we'll do is, as you go away from those big streets, we're going to have smaller houses around it. It's kind of like exactly what we've done already, but you know, the more I was thinking about it, I was like, actually this makes a lot of sense to do it. So really large building. This time I'm actually using 2 lots, so doubling up on my wood. So with my kind of the logs there, I want to make it look really quite chunky, really quite thick. Everything's being pushed forwards quite a lot as well, so I wanted to have that really accentuated. So this big road, and it is quite big, I wanted to have it where when you're actually walking down it, you can feel those buildings, you know, pushing over. Now I decided to go with red because again, we haven't really used loads of red. I've only got it in a couple of different places, so I was like, oh, we're going to have to get some red in here, proper red, make it really dark. Then have the dark stone on top and also some of the dark oak. And I can't wait until we get 1.17 on the server, just waiting for a couple things to update in a minute, because we've got all of those copper blocks and loads of other blocks as well. It's going to be quite a good one. So what I'm thinking on this building, on that red building, is actually having the upstairs area is like a dance studio. So because it's quite big, nice big open area, and it's quite tall in its ceilings, I'm actually going to do something like that, or a theatre. So something along those lines. I don't know what we'll do, we can always play around with it. I do need to get onto doing some live streams where we get into these interiors for sure. Now getting on to the next building, I want to build a nice big restaurant. I decided to actually have part of it pushed back. That was going to be part of this design, so we got these kind of like 2 buildings that were purchased together and moved together. I tried out Darkstone and I didn't like it, so I gave it a go as part of the frame. It just ends up looking too dark. There isn't enough, I think, variation blocks, although I put in like blackstone as well, so not darkstone, blackstone, so blackstone stone bricks. And I also went with a bit of blackstone in there, but I didn't like the look of it. I actually ended up switching that out to netherite for the pillars, and that looks a lot better. Going with grey as well, because I haven't been using that a lot. It is another one of these big buildings, and trying to really mix it up, but without it being too colourful, because the red is really colourful, the yellow is really colourful, the orange is slightly darker and kind of like more dull, but I was like, I need to have some more dull buildings in here, but I also want to have them, you know, a little bit different. So what should we call this restaurant? Because it is going to be a fancy restaurant, which is going to be be on the sides here. So, you know, what do you guys think we should call this restaurant? It'd be really cool. And then when we get into the live stream, we can then start to play around with the inside of it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how it actually turned out. I was trying to do, and with a lot of these, I'm trying to do different ways of building. So like this one, having like a bigger building and then a smaller building, but having them very similar, having them joined together. And you can see that with the materials that I've used, with the greys, with the roof style as well. And also the windows, I wanted to have that so that something ties those two together, but have them as two separate buildings that are just happen to be touching each other. And now you can see the different materials that I've switched in there, so putting in netherite and also going back to stone bricks. Anyway guys, here is the finished build that we've got for this episode. So we've got these really large buildings on the side now on this main road. This main road is looking really cool. I need to get some cool carts in there, I think. But the big red building that we're going to have, like a dance studio or maybe a theatre, something along those lines. I definitely want to have something in there. And we've also got this grey building. Now that grey building has this tiny little alleyway that goes into the back as well. That's going to be a nice restaurant. And of course, not to forget the two towers that we put in at the back. As you can see, that kind of frames the area. Anyway guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, make sure to comment, like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.